to the Hoop Pets podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel. About an hour after we thought we were going to start tonight, we both cleared the decks at our house, and then Rockets Thunder goes double overtime. But man, what a way to open the NBA season, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it was an exciting game. There was lots to unpack, and I think lots of things to talk about. We talked about the broadcast. We can talk about the game. We could talk about Michael Jordan making an appearance. Lots to discuss for sure. So I don't know. Where do you want to start? Do we want to start? I kind of feel like we should talk about the game first, and then talk about the presentation. Right? You agree? I think that's where we have to go. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I
So
agree. I agree.
I only caught really the bits and pieces. I watched a lot of the first half. And then it just seemed like the Thunder just seemed to have someone step up every quarter. Like Holmgren was to start the game. Then Shea really picked it up in the second quarter and third quarter. And obviously he's what makes that team go. Şengün had a huge game for Houston. He had 39. Durant was kind of quieter, 24. A bunch of these guys all fouled out because of going into double overtime. You could clearly see in overtime and double overtime, their legs, they're not in conditioned right now for this kind of game, a length of a game. Some interesting decisions, some interesting calls. And yeah, it just lots of really good things, lots of intriguing things, Selfishly, I was hoping that Houston would pull it off so I could say that I would go wire to wire on the NBA totals draft. Now, to be fair, if Golden State wins tonight, we will be tied 1-1, and that's basically would be that's fine. But anyways, I think it's interesting. I think obviously Houston's got to learn to play together. They don't have the glaring problem with Houston, at least from our perspective. I think when we were watching it was the Reed Shepherd situation, or as you called him, a turnstile. It did not look good on the defensive end of the floor. And he also turned the ball over 2 or 3 times in the overtime period. So I think it'll be a situation to monitor and to keep an eye on. But ultimately, I think, listen, if the games, the Western Conference games are this good all the time, we're in for a heck of a season. I mean, and then right now, with the fact that game went to double overtime, we're in the second quarter of the Lakers Golden State, and the Lakers don't have LeBron, and it's a close game. And maybe the Western Conference is the gauntlet that we thought it would be. I guess to start at least.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, I think that there's just at the top of the Western Conference, every single game is going to be a war. And Oklahoma City missing Jalen Williams tonight, and I'm not sure exactly how much longer he's going to be out, but clearly that's a key piece to their team. I was less, I guess, interested going into this game in Oklahoma City and how they were going to play. And I would say what I was watching definitely leaned away from Oklahoma City in this game. I definitely wanted to watch more of the Rockets, and I found myself kind of keying in on what the Rockets were doing more than what Oklahoma City was doing. Oklahoma City looked very, very similar to what they looked like last year on the way to a title. When Shea got it going in the second half, Houston really couldn't do much to deal with him. He missed a couple shots. He also missed a few free throws, but pretty much he could get wherever he wanted to go. And then Chet, just like last year, was inconsistent moment to moment. He had a big, as you said, first quarter. And then after that, he kind of disappeared. He did hit the big three, I think, in the first overtime. But for the most part, he was up and down throughout the day. But Oklahoma City is just deep, and defensively, they just make you work. And so there wasn't really anything on the Oklahoma City side that really surprised me. And so I spent most of my time watching the Rockets, and you mentioned it, Reed Shepherd and losing Fred VanVleet and having Reed Shepherd at this point having to play major minutes, at least based off what we saw tonight. Eh, Offensively, he didn't shoot the ball very well, and clearly we know that he can do that. That's his reputation and what he's been able to do at every level of basketball except for the NBA. So I would think that his shooting will come around, but watching him defensively, he had no chance of staying in front of anybody. As soon as he was on the floor, Oklahoma City was immediately attacking him. And we're not even talking about playoff situations where teams are just gonna hunt a guy relentlessly. He's gonna have to get much, much, much better in order for him to be on the floor and be able to play major minutes, especially as the season goes on and you get towards the playoffs. There's just no way, based on what he did defensively tonight, he couldn't stay in front of anyone. And that's going to be an ongoing problem during the season, but it's going to be an even bigger problem when you consider that the Rockets are trying to win an NBA title, bringing in Kevin Durant. The Shepherd piece is going to be a challenge, and maybe he'll improve over the course of the season. It's really his. I don't want to say it's his first NBA game, but it's really his first NBA game where he's gotten major minutes. And I do think that the Amen Thompson at point guard experiment, which Houston is definitely going to put a lot of time into this season, I thought it looked good for the beginning of the game. The problem with Amen Thompson is he just can't shoot it. I think he ended up 0 for 7 from 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 0 for 7. So he was 8 of 17 from the floor, so 8 of 10 on twos and 0 of 7 on threes. And it's going to be a problem for Houston if he can't at least make 35% of his threes because teams are just going to continue to back off him. And he's a good enough athlete that kind of like Giannis, that if you get him going downhill, he's going to be able to get to the rim and score over people, which is kind of what he did. But he was given lots and lots of room to shoot threes, and he didn't take nearly as many as he could have, considering how wide open he was in certain situations. But he just at this point doesn't look like a confident shooter, and maybe he'll get there. But as far as him handling the ball and making good decisions and being able to penetrate the teeth of the defense and then kick it out, I saw some good things. If I was Houston, I'd be encouraged by what I saw from Amen Thompson at the point. And then you brought it up at the end of the game, even when Shepard was in, they played their huge lineup with Şengün, Steven Adams, Jabari, Durant, and they had Reed Shepard in there. But clearly, if there was crunch time and Amen Thompson hadn't come up with the cramp or whatever caused him to be out for the remainder of the game after he went down in the first overtime, that's a huge lineup. And Houston's going to control the boards against most teams. The question is going to be, do they have enough shooting on the floor? Şengün shot it well tonight from three. And if he can continue to improve as a three-point shooter, that obviously helps. If Shepard can be on the floor for 25 minutes a game and even be a serviceable defender and make guys work. I mean, tonight he didn't even make anybody work. Every single guy that caught the ball against him one-on-one just went right past him immediately. So I think the two things that were most interesting to me, and I know Durant's new to this team, but watching that Amen Thompson, Reed Shepard balance between how they're going to play those two guys and are they going to play together, who's going to have the ball in their hands, and they each have a deficiency that is going to take away from what Houston's going to do. So it'll be interesting to see how that situation develops over the course of time. And then you and I talked about while we were watching the game that Durant, it was interesting to watch him, especially in the first half. I felt like he was kind of ball stoppy. Ball came to him, and there was a couple times where he put the ball on the floor, and a double team came at him, and there was clearly an opportunity to kick it, and he just ended up kind of forcing a shot. Several times it was Reed Shepard who was open, so maybe he just didn't want to give the ball to Shepard. But there were other times where other guys were open. I just felt like he held the ball a little bit, and that looked much better as the game went on. I felt like he moved the ball a little bit more, and obviously towards the end of the game, in all the big moments, except for the very last shot that Jabari caught in the corner with 2 seconds and shot the air ball fading away from the corner. In the other clutch situations, the ball went to Şengün, and he was able to kind of bully ball his way to the rim and at least get a good looking shot or get to the rim. The one time he got the offensive rebound and the dunk. So Houston definitely over the course of time is going to adapt and adjust and figure out what they need to do and who can play together and what the roles are. So to go toe to toe with the champs tonight, even though they were missing probably their second or third best player, probably their second best player in Jalen Williams, I would say. If you're Houston, I guess you got to come away from this encouraged, and yet at the same time, there's going to be questions, and they're going to have to figure things out as the season goes along. But you lose in double overtime in a home game for Oklahoma City on the night they get their rings. I think if there's such a thing as a moral victory, in some ways, this feels like it counts as a moral victory for the Rockets.
Yeah, I think you're right, and like obviously they've got to get used to playing with each other. And Durant is a different player than they've played with anyone, right? I mean, like that's the other thing. Like they just got to get used to figure it out. And listen, despite his his I don't want to say misbehaviors of Ime Udoka's past work problems, I think he's proven to be a really good coach. So I think it's going to be he's going to figure out the best way to incorporate Durant and work with it. You know what I mean? Like I just think he's going to do a great job with that. Anything else? Anything else on the game itself, Mike?
I think two things stood out to me that we're going to see as trends, either specifically to one of these teams or just across the league. So you had the Rockets shot 39 threes. They went 11 for 39, and the Thunder went 13 of 52 from three. Now, granted, it's a double overtime game, but 39 and 52 threes, that is a lot of launching of three balls. And we've said it over and over again on the podcast that if you run into a night where you make a lot of threes and your opponent doesn't, you're probably going to win. And then I think the other thing, and that's more sort of a general trend that I think we're going to see in the league, is just the number of threes is just going to continue to climb. And I think you're going to see way more frequently, you're going to see teams getting 53s up in the air in given games. And that is, it's a lot of threes. I mean, you're talking about 50% of the shots, if not more, are going to come from from 3-point line. So the Rockets took 97 shots, 39 of them were threes, and the Thunder took 104 shots and 52 of them were threes. So exactly half of their shots were threes. And so that's a league-wide trend that I think we're going to see moving forward throughout this entire season. And then the other thing, sort of on a more granular basis, Houston out rebounded Oklahoma City 51-39. I think Houston is just going to pummel teams on the boards. They had 16 offensive rebounds tonight. And I just think that their rebounding advantage with that size, that as they figure out how to play each other, Houston is never going to be a fun team to play. Let's put it that way, because you're going to be dealing with their size. You're going to be dealing with the physicality of Adams and Şengün are just both guys that are brute strength, beat you up. Adams more on the off the ball. Şengün beats you up when he has the ball. And it'll be, I think that big lineup is going to be tough to deal with. The question will be, again, do they have enough shooting? That's where Reed Shepherd becomes hugely important, because Van Vliet provided that little bit of extra shooting. Obviously, a lot more experienced player than Reed Shepherd. And tonight was the reason clearly why you missed Van Vliet, because Shepherd didn't shoot the ball well, and then his lack of ability to defend. I'm not saying Fred Van Vliet is a lockdown defender by any means, but he's at least a crafty veteran, a guy who's been there and can. I mean, like we've said a couple times. I mean, Reed Shepherd was just a turnstile tonight. Nobody, he was just relentlessly attacked every time he was on the floor, and guys went right by him. So I think Houston's going to miss Van Vliet, especially at the beginning of the season. Maybe Shepherd comes around. He's got to get to the point where he can at least be serviceable defensively. But the Rockets are just going to they're just going to destroy people on the boards. Can they get enough shooting? And what does that ultimate point guard spot look like? Can you do it with the Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd by committee? Is that going to be good enough with the flaws that each guy brings to the table to have those two guys manning the point guard position? Or is there some kind of in-season trade where the Rockets use some of their draft capital and maybe one of their younger guys to get a point guard that is of a higher level, or at least a true point guard, which I don't think Reed Shepherd or Amen Thompson are really pure point guards or real point guards. I think they can both play the position, but I don't think it's their natural tendency. And Amen Thompson just has to be able to, if he ever figures out how to shoot, he has every other skill you could possibly want, plus athleticism that's just off the charts.
All right, so let's turn the attention to the presentation, and we can go with whatever this way. but I have a question for you. Okay, so my first takeaway when I watched the first quarter was, man, is Mike Tirico. I mean, it's Mike Tirico so good, and literally 2 nights ago he's calling an NFL game, and now so this is going to be a weekly. We're going to get him on Sunday Night Football, and then we're going to get him on Tuesday Night Basketball. And how lucky are we? And then my follow question was, and this might be breaking news for our listeners out there, but you're a little bit older than me, Mike, just a tad bit older than me. Has there
Just a
ever
tad.
been an announcer that can just so seamlessly go from, I guess Al Michaels is probably the only one, right? To go from sport to sport, like.
And
But
I think Marv
did
Albert.
Al
I think
Michaels
Mar
ever
I think
work in the same, like in two different sports at the same time? Like, or was he more of a, like, NFL is going on, he's doing NFL, and then he would do some baseball, I know, and like other things, but was he ever going from, like, in mid-season? Like, NFL is not even like halfway through the season yet, and here he is doing NFL, and then, by the way, he leads the golf. He's in charge of a lot of the golf stuff that NBC does, and he does the Olympics. So, like, NBC, what a coup they got when they got him, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, and he's great. Like, he's really, really, really good. And I don't know. He was really. I thought he was really awesome on the broadcast tonight. And I jokingly told you, he almost made me realize, made me forget that Reggie Miller was a part of the broadcast.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Tirico's very good, and when you watch a game, I think what you want, right, is the guy to, I don't wanna say fade into the background, but you want the guy to not be the show until you need him to be the show and make a good call in a big moment, and to be able to have that sense of when to step up and when to step back, and I think Tirico does that really well. I think Al Michaels, I don't know exactly what his time frame going back and forth between sports were, but clearly he's had an unbelievable career calling multiple sports. And the only other guy that comes to mind for me there is Marv Albert, at least on a national scale. I think there's been guys that have done some of that locally, but nobody that's done it to the same level as Al Michaels and Tirico. And I would say Marv Albert's the other guy that, when I think of guys that have called multiple sports or that I can associate with multiple sports, those are the three guys that come to mind. And then I thought Reggie Miller and Jamal Crawford were fine. Again, you're not, when I'm watching a game, I'm not necessarily looking for what kind of insights can those guys bring to the table. I want them more to just not get in the way and say things that are stupid or just obvious to anyone who's watching basketball. If they can
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
something to the table that's insightful in some way, that would be great. But as long as they're not tripping all over themselves and dumbing the game down, then I'm okay with it. So
yeah. But
I didn't mind the announcing crew did not detract from the game in any way, shape, or form. And I think Tirico was additive, and Miller and Crawford, at least tonight, I didn't think were a distraction from what I was watching. Great game to watch, and I thought the crew didn't take away from my enjoyment of that game.
yeah, I will say, as I'm listening to Tarico call the NBA game, I'm waiting for Chris Collinsworth to chortle or to start talking about the pass rush.
Yeah,
Just
there you go.
like it was just bizarre. It was super
Yeah,
bizarre. I mean, obviously I'll get used to it, and he is so good that it is just makes it seamless. Like it makes it seamless.
yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to watch it as the season goes on. And obviously this was their first call. They're gonna. I'm sure they did test runs and things because that's what they all do now. Like, but he's just so good. And I thought the presentation as a whole was good. I like the score bug. I don't think it's annoying. I like everything that I saw. Um, you know, the doing an hour pregame show. I don't know if that's going to be a regular thing, but I think that's pretty good. And it was talking about what's actually going to happen listen, I'm not saying that the pregame show was better than the inside the NBA because that's not the truth. But I do like that they're going back to, like, talking about the game and not necessarily just random things. I do like that a lot. And And yeah, I don't really have any major complaints about what I saw, and obviously time will tell. And hearing Round Ball Rock was fantastic. Like, I, when I was at school today, I may have played it on loop a few times for the kids because I was excited that the NBA season was coming back. And they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't even know. You don't even know, kids."
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
like the opening, right?
yeah.
The kids didn't know, right? The NBA players didn't know, right? What's your when they asked in the opening, right? What's your association with the 90s NBA and with this song? I mean, guys weren't even born when Jordan and the Bulls were at their heyday. And when I hear that song, that's obviously the team and the player that comes to mind first. And so it was just funny to see and have them incorporate some of those highlights from back in the 90s to incorporate it with some of the players and stars that we have today and spliced in with the interviews from with Magic and Patrick Ewing and Jordan. And then you've got all the current guys that are responding saying, I don't really remember. I don't have a memory from that. I wasn't I wasn't even born yet. And that song just makes you it just makes you feel like the NBA is about to come on. And I don't know that there was anything that is its equal in terms of just making you feel like an important basketball game was about to be
Oh,
played. And again, I think
I was say I was gonna say I was gonna
that just speaks to our age. That speaks to
yeah.
our
Well, I
age.
was gonna say so like when I think about what other sports songs like the old Monday Night Football song was like
Bum,
you
bum,
know
bum, bum. Oh yeah.
yeah
William
but no but I'm saying
Andrews,
like the
give
one
him the
that
ball. Give him the
you,
hole. He will barrel through. That was Howard Cosell. That was before your time.
no
Howard
I'm talking
Cosell.
about the Monday Night Football song, the Monday Night Football song that they
No,
used to,
I'm talking about the Monday Night Football song. You're talking about what's his name?
Hank
What's the guy
Williams
who
Jr.
sings it now?
Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I'm
no,
talking about the old school, man. Howard Cosell. Howard, go
and
back and that
Carrie
was the best.
Underwood Sunday Night Football, waiting all day
No,
for a
man.
Sunday night.
No, man. No, you got to go back to the original Monday Night Football theme song. Those were the best. Those were the best. Bump, 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 bump. See, I don't associate any of the Sunday night, whatever, the Hank Williams Jr. Yeah, no, get that out of here. Bring me back Howard Cosell and Dandy Don Meredith and Frank Gifford. Bring me back that crew for Monday Night Football. That was when Monday Night Football really
Well,
meant
I
something. When
think
I
all
had to
those
like
guys
fight
are
to.
dead, Mike. I don't think you can bring them
They
back. I
are.
think they're all dead.
They are. No, they're not bringing. They're not bringing them back except on YouTube or Twitter. I guess
AI,
they can still bring them
AI,
back. But
AI.
yeah,
By
maybe
the way,
yeah,
have you
maybe
seen those? Have
AI.
you seen those? Okay, so I'm gonna get off to. Have you seen those AI videos of like the like people doing like the wrestling AI videos? Have you seen those or not? Like Queen
No, I haven't
Elizabeth
seen any wrestling.
WWE wrestling. Oh my
No, I
God,
haven't seen. No, I haven't seen that.
Abraham Lincoln, uh, and like someone took an AI of Martin Luther King doing like a promo in the WWE ring, and it was, "I no longer have the dream. I am the dream." And just like crazy people are taking the AI and doing this stuff, and I'm like, oh my
It's
God, I
nuts,
can only
man.
imagine where this is going. I can only imagine where this is
Oh,
going.
it's insane.
It's
What we're gonna see in the next 5 to 10 years is gonna be it's frightening what we're gonna see. But yeah, so
it's gonna be a whatchamacallit. It's gonna be what's the evil computers in Terminator? What am I thinking of?
oh,
Oh, Skynet. It's gonna be Skynet. It's gonna be Skynet.
there you go. Yeah,
That's I tried.
probably it'll
I
be
knew
some.
you had seen that movie. I know you had to have seen that movie because that was in the '80s. So
I have seen Terminator. Yeah, it's been a long time, but I have seen it. I'm aware. I'm
okay,
aware.
all right. So, anyways, so anything else? Anything else from the game tonight, Mike? Before we make predictions, a game presentation, or I guess you. I'm sure you want to talk about halftime for at least a minute, right? You
Yeah,
want to.
you got to talk about Jordan. You got to talk about Jordan. I mean, look,
You
anybody
predicted
who's
it
listening
though.
to the
You
podcast,
predicted it though. You totally predicted it though. They sat at his house and they did a like, and they're dragging it out, baby.
they
He taped like
recorded
3 weeks worth of
they
content.
recorded they probably recorded 90 minutes of content 2 weeks ago, and they're going to drag that 90 minutes of content out over the entire season. It'll be interesting to see if something happens during the season. Do they actually have any up to
Well,
date
does he have a different
commentary if
outfit?
something?
That's the question. Does he have a different outfit? That's what we need to. That's the outfit watch. That's what we got to be on. Outfit watch. Is he in the same outfit that he was in tonight, next week? Which the answer has got to be for sure. The way that they talked about, oh, next week you got to hear his thoughts about load management. So obviously they've already recorded it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta believe he's gonna be in the same outfit. Maybe maybe they have 3 recording sessions scheduled for the entire year, but yeah, they're definitely gonna block and bunch these up. So it's gonna be they recorded a lot of content this first trip to his house, and then they're gonna stretch it out, as you said.
Can they
But
can
look,
they can they
here's
can
the
they give
thing.
him an iPad and then he'd be like, I took that personally. Can we do that? Can we bring that back, please?
It's
I mean,
still it's still great to have it's still great to have Jordan on TV in my life. Anybody who's listened to the pod knows how I feel and Jason feels about Michael Jordan. And I just think that having him in any way, shape, or form just makes the league and makes the broadcast more interesting. I go back to when we did our reaction pods to The Last Dance, and every single one of those episodes just took me back to the time of sitting and watching and just being a fan and just experiencing that whole thing in real time with just again how great Jordan was as a player, just the total package of everything and to be able to have him back. And I know it's kind of contrived in the way that they're sitting at his house and the questions, and they're going to kind of lob softballs at him and whatever, but it's still getting to hear Jordan's thoughts, even tonight, talking about that he hasn't touched a basketball. And who knows if that's true or it's not true. But then even the fact that like he's saying, "Oh, I'm so nervous and I got to take the free throw in front of that guy's kids that whose house he was staying at during the Ryder Cup." And then Tarico's like, "Well, what happened?" And then of course he's like, "I made it." It's just the I don't know if you want to say the ego, the cockiness, the however you want to
yeah.
phrase it. It's just it's
Can
it's
can I ask you? I want to ask you a question.
It's on brand.
When
It's on
when he
brand
was
for Jordan. Let's put it that way.
when he said I needed to give back, did you buy that 1 second?
I think I buy it to some degree, right? Because I think you don't buy it at
I didn't
all.
do it for financial reasons. I did, and which maybe he doesn't need finance money, but he wasn't doing this if he wasn't getting paid. Okay, let's be honest.
Oh, I
Let's
understand.
be.
No, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, there's
But
a
I
difference
feel
in
like
what
I had to
you're
get. I
what
feel like
is
I'm doing this because I had to give back. No, come on now. That's not. I don't believe that for a second. I love Jordan. I love him so much, but come on now. He, he wants to be. He's no longer in the doing anything within the realm of the NBA. He's not an owner. He's not a manager. He's not got anything going on. He's People still talk about LeBron and him, all this sort of stuff, and we can have arguments about whether we agree with people trying to make the case for LeBron being the greatest of all time. But the conversations are going to continue to happen as long as LeBron is in the NBA. And part of this is totally, like you said, ego. He wants to be back somewhat in the spotlight for something because he's not doing anything else. But he doesn't want to be in the spotlight and have to do a lot of work because he doesn't need to do that. He wants to golf. He wants to smoke his cigars. He wants to like. Do you think? I want your honest. Do you think he watches a lot of NBA basketball at this point? Do you think he watches a lot of NBA basketball?
that's a great question. I mean, part of you says that somebody who loves the game and it was so important to him in his life that the answer to that would be yes. And yet at the same time, it's like I said when you and I first talked right after his little thing came on, and I said he could I could totally relate to again, clearly on a completely different level, but just the idea of you can sense when he talks about like I haven't touched a ball in however long, he can't remember the last time he touched it. And you could almost sense the frustration of that he can't do it anymore at the same level, that as you get older, in your mind, you can still feel like you're 25 years old and at the peak of your powers, and yet there's a part of you that knows that you're not. And so there's a frustration level with that when you look around and you're like, man, I wish I could play. but you wish you could play as a 25-year-old, not wish you could play as a whatever. For me, 55, for him, a 61 or 62-year-old man, whatever he is. And so I can completely relate to that. And so then you wonder,
Could
does
Reed
he not
Shepherd
watch
lock
it
up
because
Michael Jordan right now?
I'd put my money on Jordan. My money would be on Michael getting by him. But I just think that maybe watching the NBA is a source of frustration because he looks at it and he says, "Man, I'm better than this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, everybody." However you want, however in his own mind he thinks about it. And the fact that in your mind you feel like you could still go out and torch guys and put up 50, that the realistic part of you knows you can't, and that's frustrating. And so maybe he doesn't watch. I guess if I had to bet my life on one or the other, I'd say he probably doesn't watch it that much.
Yeah, I don't think he does. I think he watched it when he was involved in Charlotte, but now, nope. I think.
It's weird though, because again, if you love the game, then how do you get your
Oh, I bet
fix?
no, Mike. He watches college basketball. That's what he
You
watches.
think so? Okay.
Uh-huh. I think he's a college basketball guy. And he won't
Is he gonna
obviously
go
say that on this. Just I bet you he watches college basketball. I bet you he
is he
watches a
going to
lot of
the
college basketball.
is he going to the
UNC.
Carolina home opener? Is he going to the Carolina
Um,
home opener?
I mean, he went to the Carolina home opener for Bill Belichick.
All right, so maybe he'll be there. Maybe I can find a way to talk to him.
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know if he's going to that game. No offense. You know, Carolina Duke. Yeah, he'll be there. But
Arkansas out.
oh, Mike, you're reconnecting.
Yeah, I'm back. I've had lots of I had lots of issues the other day. So
Great.
anyway,
Your new internet's working really well, Mike.
it is. After I got it fixed, it didn't work any better than it ever has. It's terrible. Anyway, maybe you'll be there to see the home opener against John Schulman and the University of Central Arkansas.
Are you
So
are
we'll
you
see.
officially going, Mike? Are you officially going?
I think I'm going in some capacity. I don't know if I'm going by myself. I don't know if my wife and my daughter really wants to go. Madeline really wants to go. So she'd have to miss probably one practice for me to take her down there and go to the game. She's in North Carolina. That's where she wants to go to school. That's like her
Yeah,
dream
yeah, yeah,
school. She tells me every day she
yeah.
wants to go to North Carolina. I want to go to North Carolina, Dad. So I
She's been
might have
hearing you
to I might
talk
have to
about
break
it.
down
She's
and
been
take
hearing you.
them. I know.
She's been hearing you talk about
I can't
So
honestly, like, I can't wait to go and just walk around. And I want to go see Carmichael Auditorium where they played when Jordan was there. And they have like a Carolina Basketball Hall of Fame that is on campus. I don't know if it's in the Dean Dome or not or whatever, but I just want to go and walk around and be just, again, one of those things that's been on my bucket list since when I said I was going to retire. Going to a Carolina game and going to the US Open tennis tournament are the two things that I've had on my list that I haven't been able to pull off while I was working. And so I'm definitely going to try to pull it off. So, John Schulman, if
all
you're
right,
listening, I'm going to hit you up at some point for at least one or two or three tickets, depending on how many people end up coming with me. So we'll see.
all right. Okay, so I guess the last 10-ish minutes, we're gonna make some predictions on the awards, Mike. Does that sound good? Is that where we're gonna go now? We're good.
Sounds
Ready
good.
for that?
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay,
Sounds good to me. Yep.
So I
Yep.
think
Let's do it.
let's start with MVP. I've gone back and forth in my head about this. I'm not going to give it to SGA. I just think that people aren't. I want it for the story to be Luka Doncic. I really do. I think it would be great to have LeBron have to be on the team with a player that's the MVP. I think that would kill him. I'm taking a leap, Mike. I'm going Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is the MVP this year.
Holy cow, man. You love Anthony Edwards, man. Holy cow.
Anthony Edwards. He's going to be the MVP this
Make
year.
the case. Make the case because I make the case because I don't
I
see it,
think
but make
I
the
think
case.
Minnesota's I think Minnesota ends up with the second best record in the Western Conference. I think he's gonna take a big leap. He's gonna play an integral role about that. He's obviously the person that drives that. Um, Spoiler alert: I'm picking Chris Finch for my coach of the year. Um,
Okay.
I just think I love everything about I love a lot of Minnesota stuff, and maybe I'm gonna be wrong, but I was so down on them last year because I didn't think Julius Randle was going to work. Now they've had a whole new year to get the Julius Randle situation figured out. I just think they're going to be really good this year. I think they've proven that they can compete. They've proven in the past that they can beat OKC. They've proven in the past they can beat Denver. I just feel like they're going to have a great year. Anthony Edwards is going to go up, and he's going to have a great season, and I think he's the MVP. And I have full faith and confidence that he's going to be healthy, and not miss games. Um, and that's where I'm at. I don't have confidence that Doncic is going to stay healthy, even though he's in great shape, because he's had an injury history. I just don't. I guess you know. I think it's Edwards, Jokic, SGA are the final three, and I'm giving it to Edwards this year. You're going to give it to Jokic. Go ahead.
Man, man, that's well, your boy Luca's got 22, 7, and 4 at halftime. So he's off to if his first half of basketball, if he can carry that over for the rest of the season, he's probably got a really good shot at the MVP. Here's the thing with Anthony Edwards. I don't think it's completely crazy because I do think that Minnesota is going to have a good season. I do think Edwards is going to continue to get better. Last year, obviously, he added 3-point volume to his capabilities, maybe almost to his detriment, and not getting to the rim as much as he had in previous seasons. But he got 10 threes up a game. So I'm guessing he's going to do that same thing again. Clearly, there's another level for him to reach. And he's probably, with the Tatum injury, I think most people would probably have him as the fifth best player in the league, unless you're one of these experts that feels like Wemby has already gotten to the top five, which I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves if we put him there. But can Edwards make that leap
He's
into
got
the
to be Wemby's got to
stratosphere
be
with
healthy for a season. He's got to be healthy for a season before I put
no,
him
no, no,
there.
no.
Like
No, I'm not advocating for Wemby in any way, shape, or form. I think Wemby has to be healthy and he has to demonstrate offensively that he can be efficient and he's got to be able to score around the rim. He can't just be shooting one-handed, one-footed floaters from 25 feet away. Like he has to be able to play around the basket if he's ever going to reach the vast potential that he has. So I don't think he's there. But here's the thing, and why I don't think Edwards can win it is when you look at the statistical profiles of what Luka, Jokic, SGA, and Giannis are going to put up. So you take let's just take the last 3 years for each of those guys, right? Jokic basically last year averaged a triple double. He's probably going to do that again or come really, really close. Shea led the league in scoring and averaged 32 a game, 6 and 6. He's going to be on the team with the best record more than likely. He's the returning MVP. I would say he's going to probably have a similar statistical year to what he had last year, and Oklahoma City is probably going to have a similar record to what they did last year. So the formula there is best player on the best team. Could SGA win it just based on statistics? Sure. Then Giannis, Giannis is going to put up a 30, 12, and 6 probably. Luka, if he's healthy, he's going to put up a near triple double, you would have to think. And I just don't think Anthony Edwards, when you look at his statistical profile, he'd have to probably be closer to the Shea profile, right? Because I don't think Edwards is going to be threatening to average a triple double. He's not going to. He's not that good of a playmaker where he's going to be able to do that. I think realistically, if Edwards were to win the MVP, he'd probably have to go like 34, 8, and 5 to be able to win the MVP. And even then, I just think the statistics of those other 4 guys are gonna eclipse what Edwards does. So, Minnesota would almost have to win the West or be like a 60-win team compared to Oklahoma City's 65 wins, and then maybe you could make a case. But I just don't think statistically Anthony Edwards is gonna be able to get there as an MVP unless his team drastically outperforms expectations. And so that goes to the argument against Shea, or the reason why I would not pick Shea to win it is I think last year people felt like Oklahoma City was going to be the best team and that they were going to have the best regular season record. But the fact is they hadn't done it before. And so when they did it, and Shea was clearly the driving force behind it, he leads the league in scoring. Statistically, he was just so efficient because of his field goal percentage and because of his ability to get to the line. And so his season made was even though Jokic's season was probably as good of a season statistically as any player's ever had in the history of the league, Shea's season was so good that it nearly matched from a statistical standpoint and from an analytics nerd point of view, like all those advanced metrics brought him very, very close to Jokic. And then you just combine that with the fact that Oklahoma City finished what 15, 16, 17 games better than Denver in the standings. And that's what won it for Shea. And I just don't think that that kind of bounce jump storyline is going to happen this year. Maybe if Oklahoma City wins 73 games, maybe. I don't think they're going to do that. So everybody expects them to win in the mid to high 60s. So if they win 67 games and Shea has a similar season to what he had last year, there's no story there because that's what that story's already been told. And then you look at, to me, then you take Giannis, right? He's going to put up, like I said earlier, 30, 12, and 6. Can Milwaukee outperform? Can Milwaukee win 50 games? Maybe if Giannis stays healthy and those other guys shoot the ball. And if they do, Giannis is in the mix, but more than likely, Milwaukee's going to probably win in the low to mid 40s. And then it's just another great statistical year for Giannis. Luka, as you said, how far can he drive the Lakers? Can he stay healthy? If he's healthy, he's clearly going to put up huge numbers. And maybe if he gets the Lakers into the top 4, that becomes a compelling storyline, right? Because traded out of Dallas, gets in shape, playing on LeBron's team. I think the narrative for Luka is pretty strong. But then I think you go back to Jokic, and he's going to put up a near triple double. Denver should be, barring an injury to Jamal Murray, Denver should be a much better regular season team. They're deeper. They're probably going to up their win total from last year. I would be very, very surprised if they don't finish second in the West. So you have Denver jumping in their win total. You have the vast majority of people who are writers, podcasters, NBA historians, whoever, that feel like Jokic is the best player in the world. And if Jokic has another season anywhere close to what he did statistically last year, it's hard to imagine that all those people who are voting on the award are going to say, well, this guy's the best player, but 2 years in a row, he's going to have these unbelievable statistical seasons, and we're going to give the MVP to somebody else. So I just think if he stays healthy, Denver's going to win more games because of the additions that they made and the subtractions that they made. And I just think that because he's thought of as the best player in the world, it's hard to imagine that he's going to get denied 2 years in a row if he puts up the kind of numbers that I would expect him to if he stays healthy. So if I'm
But,
ranking it,
but
I'm going to
LeBron got
go
denied all those years
Jokic
in a row.
1. What's that?
LeBron got denied all those years in a
Yeah,
row, and he was clearly the best player.
I agree. But I think that the guy most likely to beat him out in Jokic's case already won it this year. Whereas it felt like LeBron, they kind of traded off, right? It wasn't the same guy getting the
Nash
MVP
won
award
back to
year after
back.
year after year. That was early in LeBron's career. That was in what, 07 and 08, where I mean, yeah, LeBron was close to close to the best, but I don't think it was necessarily. Look, you can make a case, I guess, but I still think people are gonna, if the two, if you replay those two seasons again this year, statistically, I think Jokic wins it this year. Even if those two have the exact same stats they had last year, I think Jokic wins it. I'm gonna go Jokic 1, SGA 2, Luka 3, Giannis 4, and then you can give me a toss up between Edwards and Wemby. I'd probably put Edwards fifth just because I feel like he's the more likely bet to stay healthy. Whereas Wemby, I just don't know. He's more of an unknown. So that's how I see it.
Okay, Mike, I'm gonna leave and come back just because we're on a delay.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to correct it. It still says that you're reconnecting on my screen.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try it and see if that fixes whatever is going on. Hold on.
All right, go for it.
All right, better.
There you go. You just want me to stay
Okay.
up late and have to splice all this stuff together. That's all.
Oh,
I can see how it is.
listen. Yeah. All right. Coach of the year. I already said Chris Finch is my coach of the year. I think Minnesota is going to make a big jump. I think they're going to go second. That's where I'm at. You know, unless the Cavs win 65.
Anybody else?
Unless the Cavs win 65, 66, 67 games, then maybe Kenny Atkinson. But the problem is the Cavs aren't making a big jump because they already were the 1 seed last year. I guess Oklahoma City was the 1 seed 2 years ago, and Dagno got it last year, right? So I guess there is precedent for that to happen. And I don't know, Jamal Mosley, if Orlando wins 54 games, like Jamal Mosley maybe. But the Eastern Conference is bad, so I don't know if that's really that impressive. So I'm going to take Chris Finch, and with Kenny Atkinson as a chance to get it too, maybe.
All right, that's fair. My thoughts came down to three guys. So my three guys: Quinn Snyder, the Atlanta Hawks; Mike Brown of the New York Knicks; and Mitch Johnson. Do you know which team Mitch Johnson? Try saying that fast. Mitch Johnson. Do you know what team Mitch Johnson coaches?
Is that San Antonio?
San Antonio. Yeah, I would have had no idea 10 minutes ago who coached the San Antonio Spurs. So this is not a vote of confidence for Mitch Johnson's ability to coach NBA basketball.
The only reason I
but
remember
it
that, Mike,
is.
the only reason I remembered that was because of Greg Popovich giving him the reins at the press conference with Tim Duncan and David Robinson standing there.
You remembered his name. You remembered his name. You remembered his
name,
though.
As soon as you said Mitch Johnson, and you remembered it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, to me, I think those are the three guys. And so the case for Mike Brown is regular season. I don't know how much better the Knicks are going to be than what they were last year, but people are going to see a different version of this New York Knicks team. I think it's highly unlikely that New York finishes anywhere besides 1 or 2 in the Eastern Conference. And so that's going to put Mike Brown being in New York with the Knicks, making changes to what people saw from Tibbs. I think that makes Mike Brown a candidate. Quinn Snyder in Atlanta, there's a lot of pieces there that if things go well and he's able to put it all together, that Atlanta could take, I don't know if a giant leap, but they could go from being a 40, 41, 42 win team to pushing to try to win 50 games. And if Atlanta does that, I think Quinn Snyder has a lot of respect around the league. I think he'll get votes. And then the case for Mitch Johnson, easy for me to say, man. Mitch Johnson is Wemby just has an unbelievable season, plays 70, 75 games at a super high level, and San Antonio takes a huge leap up the standings. And we know that usually the coach of the year does not come from a team at the very top. It usually comes from a team that has been in the middle and jumps up to being a 3, 4 seed, or a team that's been way down in the dregs that jumps up to be competitive. And I think San Antonio fits this bill. So I'm going to go with my guy, Mitch Johnson, for this award because I just think
That is
San
a big
Antonio
swing.
has the potential to
That
take a
is a
leap.
big swing, Mike. That is a big swing. A guy you didn't know
Well, there you
existed
go.
10 minutes ago, you're picking him for coach of the year. That's impressive. I'm
I agree. Well, I knew he existed. I knew the Spurs had a coach. I just didn't know what his name was. So how about that?
yeah. All right. Okay. Uh, defensive player of the year. 1, 2, 3. Victor Wembanyama.
Wemby.
I want to
Yeah,
pick
it has
Mobley,
to be.
but let's be
Has
honest.
to
Come on
be.
now. And now once again, Mobley's
So
second, right?
it's
Mobley's second. So like, if Wemby gets hurt and doesn't play enough games, then Mobley's going to get it. Like that's the bottom line, I think, right? I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. I'm not going to stay with my
I think the three
Minnesota
guys
thing
are
and pick
Wemby,
Gobert.
Mobley, Amen Thompson. Yeah. Nah, I think Gobert's days of winning the defensive player of the year are probably over. I think Amen Thompson, if he stays healthy, will get a lot of buzz just because he's a multi-dimensional defender who can guard guys in the perimeter. He can guard guys inside with his athleticism and what he can do, just harassing people in the full court and the half court at all different multi-positional places. I think he'll get some buzz, but clearly, if Wemby is eligible for this award, I don't think there's any way he doesn't win it. This is probably the easy. This is probably the easiest one on the board. With again the caveat that with anything that we say, right, injuries always can play a role in it. But if you take injuries off the table, I don't think there's any doubt that Wemby's the guy for the Defensive Player of the Year for this year and for the foreseeable future.
All right. Was there another one we were going to do, Mike?
Well, we
I
did
feel like that was
Defensive Player of the Year. I feel like we had one.
well. We
I feel like we had four. No, we did. We did Coach of the Year. We did Defensive Player of the Year.
we did
We did
MVP.
MVP.
We said we weren't going to do sixth
I
man. We
feel like
weren't going to do most. We weren't going to do most improved because those are both complete shots in the dark.
That's
Clutch
right.
player of the year.
All right,
No.
so I guess we're no. Let's skip that. All right, we can just go right to our. Let's go right to our end of this season NBA Finals matchups and pick a champ.
All right, Eastern Conference. I'm taking the Cavs. I'm doing it. Cavs. NBA Finals. Cavs.
I'm with you. I think it's got to be the Cavs. I this this is the year. As your guy LeBron, what you told me, he said that the Cavs have the most pressure on him in the entire league. I don't know that I believe that, just because I'm not sure which of these guys. I guess Donovan has some pressure on him, having gone out in some early exits in the playoffs, but I don't think people hold Donovan Mitchell as responsible for the Jazz playoff failures when he was there or the Cavs playoff failures since he's been here. I don't think it's the same level of scrutiny that a guy who's in the top five maybe gets. Mitchell, it feels like is a tier below a guy who's going to be solely held responsible in terms of his legacy. So I don't really feel like it's pressure. I do feel like this could be, if things don't go well, if they don't get to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, and in all honesty, maybe if they don't get to the NBA Finals, depending on how things go, that maybe this team gets broken up. But is that pressure? It's not like these guys aren't going to be able to go and play in the Cavs. If they do deal any of their main four guys, they're going to get something back that is going to enable them to continue to be a good team. So I don't think there's a ton of pressure in that way. I do think that they need to prove themselves in the playoffs. The regular season for this team is going to be relatively, I don't want to say meaningless, but to be honest, I don't care if they win 50 games or they win 65. It's not really going to matter because they're still going to have to do it come playoff time and show that they can make their way through the Eastern Conference playoffs and get to their first NBA Finals without LeBron James. And so I do think that in this weekend Eastern Conference, I know everybody's hyping up the Knicks. I'm not buying the Knicks hype, and I've given my reasons why. I just don't think Karl Anthony Towns is a guy that I'm not going to be afraid when I see him in the playoffs. And Mitchell Robinson starting off the season already injured. He's a big part of their
Listen,
team.
Mike. We've seen
And
Mike Brown coach in the playoffs.
we have. We have. Now he's a better coach than he was when he was here in Cleveland. And I'm not saying it's impossible to envision a scenario where the Knicks beat the Cavs. It's certainly possible, but it feels like the Cavs are due for a year where things kind of come together in terms of when they're healthy, and that instead of being healthy in mid-February, that this team can be healthy come May, June, and that's going to enable them to get to the finals. So I'm with you. Eastern Conference, Cleveland Cavaliers.
I'll let you go first in the Western Conference.
The Western Conference is tough because I think clearly the chalk pick is to go Oklahoma City. And I think people who listen to the pod probably would predict that, at least me, that I'd probably lean towards Denver. I think it's going to be one of those two teams, either Oklahoma City or Denver. I don't see anybody else being able to beat both of those teams en route to getting to the NBA Finals, which is probably what you're going to have to do if they finish 1-2 in the conference, which is what I would expect to happen this year. That means that any of those other teams in the West are going to have to go through both Oklahoma City and Denver, which seems like a pretty tall order. And I know Oklahoma City won the title last year, but you look at it, you say, okay, Denver went 7 games with Oklahoma City and did that with Russell Westbrook playing a huge, huge role. Did it with Michael Porter Jr. with one arm, did it with Jamal Murray at certainly not full title run Jamal Murray capacity. And yet they still pushed Oklahoma City to 7 games. This year, you bring in Cam Johnson to replace Michael Porter Jr. You upgrade the bench with Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway and Valanciunas, and hopefully Jamal Murray bounces back and has a season where he's consistent from start to finish. And then we've already talked about Jokic. I just think that guy he's going to continue to just put up monster numbers and be the driving force behind an unbelievable offense for the Denver Nuggets. And so it's hard to pick against a team that won 68 games last year and by all rights should be better. I mean, every one of their core guys should still be on the upward swing of their career. And yet, I think I'm going to pick Denver. So I'm going to go Denver, Cleveland as my NBA Finals.
All right, I'm going to go with the I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm not going to go with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Clippers. No, not going to go with the Clippers either. Not going to go with the Clippers either. No.
No.
All right, so okay. I'm down to 3 teams. I think Houston's not one of those 3 teams primarily because Reed Shepherd. I mean, I know I'm basing this on one game. There's just unless they can make a move, like unless Derek White becomes available and they can get someone who can play the point guard position, I think that team is missing something. I think it's an intriguing team. If Fred VanVleet was there, they would be in my discussion. Okay, I'm just going to say that now. And who knew that Fred VanVleet's injury was going to play as pivotal role in my preseason prediction? Okay, so I'm down to 3 teams. Your 2 teams that you mentioned already, and you covered the bases: Denver, Oklahoma City, and then the other team has to be the team I've mentioned, Minnesota. I think they have to be in the discussion, just because they've proven they've beaten Denver before, right? They've beaten Denver before in the playoffs. They beat Oklahoma City. They beat Oklahoma City in the playoffs 2 years ago, right? Right? Is that them 2 years ago? They beat Oklahoma City in the playoffs. Am I right? Am I misremembering?
No, Dallas.
Dallas. Okay,
Dallas won that series.
Okay, so all right, so I just think the fact that Minnesota has proven that they can beat Denver, because Denver would be my pick. Like if it was, I just don't see Oklahoma City doing it again. I just think the teams are going to have them figured out a little bit. So I get it narrowed down to Minnesota and Denver. And yes, I know Denver's comprised differently, and Minnesota is largely unchanged. And Mike Conley's another year older, and Gobert is Gobert, and he's offensively he's diminished a little bit. But I just think, oh my gosh, DeAndre Ayton's just doing these turnaround jumpers in the key. My God, if that's your offense, Los Angeles Lakers, good luck. All right. I'm gonna do Minnesota. I'm gonna take Minnesota. Minnesota Cavs. It'll be an interesting final. It'll be interesting finals. I'm gonna go Minnesota Cavs. I just feel something about Minnesota. Like when I was sitting, today, I was really gathering my thoughts today, and I was just like, something about Minnesota this year. I don't know what it is, but I just feel it. I just feel like they're gonna have a great year, and I've been wrong before. See, 4 years ago when I picked the Lakers. So, but I just, for whatever reason, think Minnesota is going to be really good. And I think Chris Finch is a good coach. I think Anthony Edwards, obviously, I already laid out the case. I think he's going to be MVP. Some might call me crazy, but whatever. I'm taking Minnesota.
All right. Minnesota Cavs, Denver Cavs, NBA Finals champion. I'm going with the Denver Nuggets. I don't see the Cavs being able to beat the Nuggets in the finals. Denver, more experienced team with more answers. If the Cavs make it to the finals, maybe I'll feel differently watching them get through 3 rounds of the playoffs and feel like they have a better opportunity. Obviously, if you make it to the finals, there's always a chance that you can win it. But I'm going to stop short of picking the Cavs to win an NBA title. I'm going to pick the best player on the planet and his team that could have easily probably won the last 2 titles, lost to Minnesota in 7 games in the Western Conference semis, I think that was. And then obviously last year lost to Oklahoma City in 7. And I just think next year they break back through. Jokic has an MVP regular season, tops it off with his second finals MVP, and vaults himself into the top 10 of all time as an NBA player, which is kind of incredible when you look at his body type, and you would never guess that that guy was one of the 10 best players in the history of the league, especially in the era of athleticism that we're playing in now. So I'm going with Denver over the Cavs.
I'm going to be a homer. Cavs in 7. I'm taking the Cavs in 7.
I hope you're right.
I'm gonna be a homer. I'm gonna take the Cavs in 7 because they're gonna have a better record than than Minnesota in the finals when they play each other. That's my prediction. I think, really, honestly, like the only team in the Western Conference that I would be worried about having a better record than them is Oklahoma City. And if the Cavs have Game 7 at home, I honestly believe that there isn't a better stadium when they're revved up than the Cavs, and maybe I'm biased. Maybe, but I've seen a lot. I've probably seen more. I've definitely seen more playoff games in the queue than you have, right? I mean, I think I went to in the 4 years from 2015 to 2018 because I was very lucky with my dad's position in his company. I went to, I think, 5 or 6 finals games. There's something about that stadium when they're revved up and ready to go. And Austin Reeves just picked up his 5th foul with 2.5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, Mike. That's some poor coaching.
Can I ask you?
That's some poor coaching.
Can I ask you a Cavs question?
Yeah, go ahead.
In your opinion, do you think that the city would love this team more or the 2016 team more if this team wins a title? Which team would be remembered more fondly? This team? I feel like that too. I feel like that too. Even though the 2016 team would be the first one. I still feel like this team, because it feels more homegrown, even though LeBron was from here, the fact that he left and then came back, I think took a little bit of the shine off of it. And I do feel like if this team somehow were to win a title, I think this team would live in the hearts of Cleveland fans more than that
And that
2016
will
team for
drive
whatever
LeBron to
reason.
come back next year.
There you go. And mess it all up. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Just throw a monkey
because he
wrench
will
into
want
it,
to be a
really?
part.
It
No,
could
listen.
be.
I honestly,
It could be.
I think. Listen, this team. When you think about the Cavs team in 2016, yeah, we have. Listen, I think, the only wrench that gets thrown into that is I think, like, yes, LeBron is the greatest Cavalier of all time and second best player of all time, but can you think of a more beloved Cleveland Cavalier than J.R. Smith? Just the
People really
whole
like
next
JR. I'll
three
give you
weeks of
that.
that, like the 3 weeks after the guy never wore a shirt and would just walk into random places without his shirt on, and there would be people posting stuff on social media about, oh, where's JR? I think someone had a Twitter account, JR Smith, shirtless JR Smith, and they would, like, anytime there was he popped up anywhere, they would, like, post that he was there, like, just ridiculous stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I like when I think about that aspect, like, obviously, and I think Richard Jefferson was beloved, um, and Channing Frye was beloved, and but I don't think Kevin Love wasn't beloved. I think Kyrie Irving has a stink on him after what happened in 2017. I don't think they don't remember him fondly, right? People, I mean, obviously, and he had the most.
Yeah, I don't
What's
think
crazy about that is
there's
he had the most important shot in Cavalier history, and I think, like, he will always be etched in our brains as an integral part of that team. But I wouldn't say that people have super fond memories of him because of the way that it ended. Okay, I mean, our center was Tristan Thompson and Timothy Mozgov. I think if I showed a random person a picture of Timothy Mozgov and a random person a picture of George Murasan, they may not be able to tell between the difference between. They would someone if I showed a random person, here's two pictures of NBA players. One's George Murasan and one's Timothy Mozgov. How many people in the Cavaliers fandom would, I mean, that's not like our age, would be able to pick out Timothy Mozgov? No one knows that guy. I guarantee you I could say that name tomorrow in school and not a single kid would know Timothy Mozgov played for the Cavs in 2016. What was the guy's name? Who was the guy we signed right before the playoffs? Dante Jones? Like, no,
Oh,
what the heck
yeah.
is this?
Yeah, Dante
Dante
Jones.
Jones.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm just, understand
There
what I'm
you
saying?
go.
Like, whereas, like, you think about this
No, I know what you're
roster,
saying.
you think about these guys, they're all likable dudes. Like Jared Allen, likable. Evan Mobley, likable. And once again, I'm not saying the 2016 Cavs weren't likable, but I'm just saying, like, I think this team would be more beloved. I think that 1.3 million people would come to the parade? I don't think so. I don't think it would be as big of a parade because it wouldn't be the first time this happened since 1948 or 1960. But I still think, like, this team would be more fondly remembered. And yeah, I think, I also think Kenny Atkinson is a way more. Nothing against Tyronn Lue. I think Kenny Atkinson's a more likable guy too. Like, just the way that he talks about the game and talks about how the game's played, and he seems more relatable, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was also, I would love it too because Gansey, of course, being the GM, it would be pretty cool. Olmsted Falls, being the GM of the Cavs, and yeah, I don't know. I think this one would be more fondly remembered for sure.
I feel that way too. I just think this team feels more homegrown, even though, like I said, LeBron was born here and started his career here. The fact that he left, I think, just for whatever reason, and then the way Kyrie, as the second best player, as you said, left town. I think those two things kind of left. Nobody will ever be again. It was a great moment, and everybody loves that team and loves those players as you just went through it. But I do think that if this team were to win it, I do think that there's an element of these are our guys for sure, more than what that 2016 team felt like of guys who came in from other places or eventually went to other places. And I hope we get to see it, man. I hope we get to figure it out and find out. I hope you're right. So to review, I have Denver over the Cavs in the 2026 NBA Finals. Jason has the Cavs over the Timberwolves in the NBA Finals. So we will leave it there. Next week, we'll have more basketball to talk about. The Cavs will have a couple games under their belt. And so we'll talk about that and what other developments are going on across the league. Anxious to see some debuts of rookies and guys coming back. And there's a lot of fun storylines to watch in the season this year. And we will be right here with you to talk about them. So thanks to everyone for listening tonight. We really appreciate it. And we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks.